Hi, I'm Jeff Murrah. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today I'm going to be focusing on the aftermath of the Alamo and some of the questions that typically come up with studies about the Alamo. If you've been with me this past 13 days, thank you. This is one of those projects I had been meaning to do for some time, to actually go day by day, and hopefully, go ahead and improve the quality as time goes on. Now, uh, in the aftermath of the Alamo, some of the things that happened, of course, inside the facility, Santa Anna was there. He had his soldiers assemble all the bodies to and make sure that they could have their identities, the identities of the key officers, once confirmed. In many cases, they were bayoneted or stabbed again. It's almost like saying, I want to make sure that the dead people were dead. Now, question arises, how many Mexican forces were there and how many were actually killed? The records indicate a lot of mixed numbers. The mayor of San Antonio, Jose Francisco Ruiz, reported between 1,544 and 1,600 Mexican soldiers were buried as a result, after the battle, which that's quite a few. And the bodies of the defenders were stripped of their valuables, laid on alternating layers of wood. They would layer of bodies, layer of wood, layer of bodies, layer of wood, and then set it on fire. And at that point, Santa Anna pretty much considered what had happened to be over with. Now, his plans changed when news reached him about the force at Goliad and other places in Texas, and he changed his mind. Now, there were some people who survived the Battle of the Alamo. There were quite a few couriers that made it out. And one of the main people that they usually identify is Mrs. Almiron Dickinson and her daughter, along with Mrs. Alsbury, Joe. So there were several. And between them and Moses Rose and a few others, we've put together, stories about what happened. Now, one of the things that did happen, there's always the question of what flag were they flying at the Alamo. I talked about that a little bit because there were quite a few references to a Texan flag. Now, Santa Anna sent the flag of the New Orleans Grays back to Mexico City with a note that says, show plainly the true intention of the treacherous colonists and of their abettors who came from parts of the United States of the North. Bear in mind that the United States was referred to as the United States of the North. Back in those days, there was also a United States of Central America where several of the nations were working together, and so that was one of the things that we were known for. Now, the New Orleans Grays flag essentially just has pretty much the phrase God and liberty emblazoned on it. So I don't know how Santa Anna got that message from that flag, but he did. And that was his mindset. Now, another question comes up. What was it that Travis said? How do we know the speech? Well, some of the people who, between the witnesses, they went ahead and put together this recollection. I will go ahead and read to you what I have. He says, the fellow who assembled it, this does not claim to be a literal reproduction, but is substantially what Travis said. That my brave companions, stern necessity compels me to employ the few moments afforded by this brief cessation in the conflict in making known to you The most interesting yet the most solemn and unwelcome fact that perishing humanity can realize. How can I find language to prepare you for its reception? I cannot do so. All I can say is, prepare for the worst. Our fate is sealed. Within a very few days, or perhaps very few hours, we must all be in eternity. This is our certain doom. I have deceived you long by the promise of help, but I crave your pardon, hoping that after hearing my explanation you will sympathize with me in my extreme necessity. In deceiving you, I also deceive myself, having first been deceived by others. I have continually received the strong assurances of help from home. Every letter from the council has teemed with the assurance that within a short time we might confidently expect recruits, enough to repel any force that would be brought against us. These assurances I received as facts. They inspired me with great confidence, but the promised help has not come, and our hopes are not to be realized. Let us not be in haste to censure our friends. The enemy has invaded our territory much earlier than we anticipated, and their present approach is a surprise. Our friends were not informed of our perilous condition in time to save us. My calls on Colonel Fannin remain unanswered, and my messengers have not returned. His whole command has probably fallen into the hands of the enemy, and our couriers have been cut off. I trust that you do not now censure me, of course. Relying upon these promises from home, I retained you here until the enemy outnumbered us 20-1 and escape became impossible. We have no hope of help, for no force of our friends could send would now be able to cut through the strong ranks of those Mexicans. We dare not surrender, for should we do so, that blood-red flag now waving in our sight, as well as the merciless character of our enemies, admonishes us of what would be our doom. We cannot cut our way through the enemy's ranks, for we should all be slain in less than 10 minutes. Nothing remains then but to stay in this fort and fight until the last moment. In this case, we must, sooner or later, all be slain, for I am sure that Santa Anna is determined to storm the fort and to take it whatever the cost. Then we must die. This is a fixed and inevitable fact. Our business is not to make a fruitless effort to save our lives, but to choose to be deliberately shot without taking the life of a single enemy. Shall we surrender and be deliberately shot without taking the life of a single enemy? Shall we try to cut our way through the Mexican ranks and be butchered before we can kill 20 of our adversaries? I am opposed to either method, for, in either case, we could but lose our lives without benefiting our friends at home, our fathers and mothers, our brothers and sisters, our wives and little ones. My choice is to remain in the fort, to resist every assault, and sell our lives as dearly as possible. Then let us band together as brothers, and vow to die together. Let us resolve to withstand our enemies to the last. And when they shall storm our fortress, let us kill them as they come. Kill them as they scale our walls. Kill them as they leap within. Kill them as they raise their weapons and as they use them. Kill them as they kill our companions, and continue to kill them as long as any one of us remains alive. And be assured our memory will be gratefully cherished by posterity till all history shall be erased and all noble deeds shall be forgotten. But I leave every man to his own choice. Should any man prefer to surrender and be tied and shot, or attempt to escape through Mexican ranks and be killed before he can run 100 yards, he's at liberty to do so. My own choice is to stay in the fort and to die for my country, fighting as long as there be breath in my body. This will I do, even if you leave me alone. Do as you think best, but no man can die with me without affording me comfort in this moment of death. So it was a pretty powerful speech. Another question that comes up is, what of Mrs. Candelaria? Now, this is interesting. She is, Senora Candelaria is the lady who claimed to be with Bowie when he died. She survived the Alamo as well. And she became quite a personality in San Antonio, even in the years of the Republic and afterwards. She told stories about what happened there. But I wanted to go ahead and cover a few of these points and go over the speech. So we do have fragments of history and what occurred there. And in the coming days, I hope to go ahead and cover other events of the Texas Revolution and our secession from Mexico to help give you a new understanding and appreciation of things. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to put them below. I'll be glad to answer them. And until next time, vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.